Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Shea Station podcast. We're 10 games into the season for the New York Mets, and Jerry, things look kind of good.
Things look pretty good, man. It's all positive in Mets neighborhood. The team looks solid, man. There was some worry with Max Scherzer's hamstring and Jacob deGrom going down. But the rotation has been historically good, setting the stage for, the offense to just relax and play themselves. So it's been a good start to the year for sure.
Yeah, we were both there this weekend on different days. You were there for the crazy home opener. It was a zoo. I was there on Sunday to see Jay Horowitz get honored. That was really cool as well. Fun weekend, though, in Metsland.
Yeah. Oh, man, what a fun weekend. We got to do the pre and post. That was my first time being like a remote, like on site. So that was wild. It was me and Terry Collins, which was good. I hadn't seen him in years. So to see him in person was great, and Gary and Todd, of course. But the environment was electric out there. I got to see some friends. So it was just awesome, man. It was fun to be around the ballpark, to feel that energy again, because it truly is like there's nothing like it. The atmosphere that you get there, and so it was just really cool to kind of feel a part of it again. And the broadcast was fun.
Yeah, I know it's cliche to say at this point because I've been thinking it for years, but this year does feel a little bit different. And with the statue induction, with how loud things were on Friday, how well the team is playing, they're not making the same mistakes that we're used to seeing the Mets make. There's a different aura around this Mets team, and this Mets team always plays well in April. That's no shock, and that's no shock for fans that watch every season. But getting off to a good start is always going to feel good, and we have a nice, fun series for you guys to listen about today. First, we got to tell you about today's sponsor, which is Manscaped. Guys, keep your downstairs clean. Baseball is back, and we're sliding into home plate this spring with freshly clean-shaven balls. Not baseballs, the other kind. Join the other 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code SHEA. That's SHEA. Manscaped has the full package for your package this season. More dick jokes. We like that. Going up to the plate against Jacob deGrom this season is tough enough. De-hair your nostrils with the Weed Whacker from Manscaped so you can take your best shot at that. Rumor is that one of the league's biggest issues during the lockout was legalizing the use of ball deodorant and ball toner for players. Luckily, you don't have to worry about that or getting kicked out of the league for having clean and good-smelling balls with Manscaped. You can get all these products and more with their Performance Package 4.0 if you go to their website, manscaped.com, and use the code SHEA for 20% off and free shipping. Thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring today's episode of Shea Station.
Is that our first actual Shea coupon code, like the promo code?
We've had a couple Sheas, I think.
Have we?
We've had one or two.
It was the trade coffee. Was that Jomboy still?
No, that was Shea, I think. But it was like a slash.
Hey, Manscaped. Shout out to Manscaped, by the way. Like, for real, unbelievable products. But also for just giving us some love. Promo code Shea. Just go there, plug it in. You don't have to buy anything, but if you're going to, plug it in. Just give us some love. I'm excited for that one.
Speaking of Shea, we're keeping it on the down low, except I'm telling everyone, so it's not really the down low anymore. New Shea Station merch coming. It's in the works right now.
Yes. Yeah, we're dialing it in. We're figuring it out. It's a t-shirt. Obviously, we're just we're just now getting into the final details, so it's exciting.
I'm gonna buy one as soon as it's ready. Keep an eye on our socials, all that jazz. All right. Let's talk some Mets baseball. I'm going to
wait. I just want to talk.
We're not
a couple quick things, couple quick hitters, okay? The Tom Seaver statue, if you haven't had a chance to go see it, it is magnificent. It truly is. It is huge, but it's really cool because it's that Tom Seaver pose to where his knees like dragging on the dirt and you can still see the dirt, but it's so big. You get all the fun details. I was really touched by the ceremony, hearing his widow Nancy talk, and I literally was like, being a new dad and seeing and just being an ex-ball player,
had to be
thinking like how big of an impact do you have to make to where 30 years later they put a statue up. Like, it's wild to think about. So that was really fun. That was great. It was posthumous though. And so, he didn't get a chance to feel that love that he deserved. It was nice for his family, but it would have been cool for Tom himself to be there. So it was nice for Jay Horowitz. For you guys that don't know, Jay Horowitz is the longtime PR guy. I want to say like 80, 81, 82, 83.
He did it for 40 years, from 80 to
40
I think
years.
the 2010s.
He's a legend. Go down that rabbit hole if you want and dig up some Jay stuff. He's fantastic. It was nice to see him get the press box put into his name and honored while he's alive, thinking about Seaver and then seeing what Jay, to embrace the organization. You mentioned earlier, Jolly, that it feels different. It's easy to say that because the team's playing really well, but it does feel different. It feels like they're doing all the right things. Like it's a good feeling around the ball club. Even when they lose, they're doing the right things. They're losing games in ways that games get lost. They're not throwing things away. It does feel different, and I hope it continues, and I think it will, because I feel like the whole organization, it took a year and a half maybe to really get the ball rolling, but the direction feels good. So we can dive in, but I wanted to touch base because you made that good point about it just feels different, and it really does.
I mean, like, we got to walk past the statue when we left yesterday. It is larger than life, and appropriately so, because that's the kind of legacy that Tom Seaver has. At the same time, like you said, it feels overdue, because Seaver's time was a long time ago, and he's long been the best player in Mets history. So I think it's fully appropriate for him to get that kind of honor.
Yeah, we're far removed from the Shea Station pitcher draft, and I just want to say that I lost from I drafted DeGrom first. I'm willing to admit it. Like I still like my man. Team, but the fact, like I looked at the stats and stuff, and I think Jacob DeGrom is going to be a great Met. I think he's historic. But then I felt what was out there and really took another deep breath, and I was like, man, how do you not take the franchise with the first overall pick?
You went
so
for
I did
shock
lose
value
on the first pick, but. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into this weekend.
Mets baseball,
let's talk
baby.
Mets baseball.
Huge home opener. We got a huge curveball before the game even started. Mark Canha and Brandon Nimmo hit the COVID IL because of a staff member testing positive. That spread around the clubhouse. Luckily, it didn't spread out to the whole team, which was good. But the Mets came out swinging. Pete Alonso, who has been an RBI machine, he grabbed a couple of sacrifice flies to open the scoring. Robinson Cano hit a solo home run the opposite way. That was pretty cool. Francisco
on a changeup away.
It was crazy. I mean, I put out a tweet about him and it instantly aged like milk, so that was kind of funny. Francisco Lindor had a nice home run as well. Chris Bassett is awesome. Really fun to just watch him do his thing. Another 6 innings, 1 run ball. There are 2 hits, 2 walks, 6 Ks. Just the 1 solo home run to Dalton Varsho. Chase and Shreve and Drew Smith, we're going to talk about them this episode because we should be talking about them. They have been complete bright spots out of the bullpen. Then the Mets just poured it on in the 8th inning. Starling Marte hit a nuke of a 3-run homer. Lindor hit his second. That didn't look like it was going to go out. It looked like he almost got it on the fists, but he was able to muscle that out from the right side. And then they did a messy job in the 9th inning, Sean Reed-Foley, but they got the job done. A nice 10-3 win in the home opener in front of what looked like a sold-out Mets crowd. Very cool.
It was a fantastic game. The Cano homer, we've been kind of hard on him. He's like the only Met that we've been hard on. Hard on is not a great go back to back.
It's too late. You could have not given it attention.
This is but so Cano, he took a changeup away and took it to deep left center field, into the wind. The wind and the sun were crazy for fly balls this whole weekend. But he proved to me, as an older man, if I'm facing him and I see him and I'm thinking, I'm just going to throw something off speed or fastball down and away. And the worst thing that he can do is bloop it into left field and get a single. So there's no damage. And then he took that changeup and smashed it into left center field, completely changed my perspective because it wasn't a bad pitch. And he drove it out the other way. Vintage, his bat speed is still there. So as long as they can maintain that bat speed and he gets in and gets some rest, I was baffled. Plus, Chris Bassett wasn't at his best, but you saw what he could still do. This was an inferior lineup, and he carved him up. He only gave up those 2 hits. Dalton Varsho hit just went down and got it. the guy played center field and then he caught in the last game. Like he was catcher.
Like when do you
fielder.
ever see that?
Blew my mind. But Shreve and Drew Smith looked great. And then, Nimmo and Canna. Canna's fully vaxxed, and so he should be back soon. Nimmo, I don't believe is. So there's going to be a little bit of a delay there. So hopefully we get those guys back soon.
You want to talk game 2?
Yeah, game 2. Cookie Carrasco's second start after his magnificent first. He looked great. He had everything working. He was throwing all of his pitches for strikes, mixing up. He went 5 shutout, gave up only 3 hits, 2 walks, had 8 strikeouts. That was huge. He went a 1-2-3 first inning, which was a breath of fresh air for everybody. He just looked great. And then Zach Gallen also looked really good for the Diamondbacks. He had that really good curveball coming. The Mets were shut out for a while, and then they put it on. And then Seth Lugo had a little bit of an implosion. His second rough outing of the young season. He's played 3 games. I'm not worried. There seems to be some temperature checks on the worry on Seth Lugo. Me personally, I'm not worried. His stuff looks sharp. There was some talk about his velo being down, but I checked deeper into that, and it's not down. His top end, he's not throwing 98 anymore and touching 98, but he did that like once a month. But I still think he's going to be fine. It'd be nice to get him in. But Ottavino looked really good. Trevor May came out and put up a scoreless. And then Mark Melancon slammed the door shut. He looked fantastic, like he always does. But the Mets end up losing 3-2 in game 2, setting the stage for Sunday's series finale.
Yeah, I was really interested in this series finale because game 2 felt like the first kind of real loss of the season. I don't know if that makes sense. The other ones felt like
we lost it from the cover. We didn't blow it. We shouldn't have won. They beat us.
It wasn't a blown lead or anything. We just didn't have our best performance on the field. So I was like, all right, how is this Mets team going to respond to a game that they lost thoroughly? Because last 2 times we saw them, they responded with great wins and resiliency after blown leads. And this Mets team came out.
Marte hit a big 2-run home run, but that was our only real shot, and we got to 3-2. We still had a chance to win, but we did get beat. And so game 3 was like, you talked about the difference between how the team feels this year and how they felt in the past. This was a game that could have easily gotten away from everybody because it was a getaway day. It was a home series against a team that you should beat. And Mets teams in the past probably would have just let this game kind of get away from them and lose, thinking like we'll make it up. But they showed some urgency.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things were going against us in game 3. David Peterson's making his first turn in the rotation in place of Taiwan. And if you lose this game after the high of game 1, you've suddenly lost a series to the Arizona Diamondbacks, and you're losing valuable ground there. Peterson looked great, though. 4 1/3 innings, worked out of some jams, 3 hits, 2 walks, no runs, 4 Ks. He threw the second hardest pitch of his career, which is something interesting, at 96 miles per hour, so it looked like the adrenaline was flowing for him. I think he's very happy to get another shot at making the Mets starting rotation. Chasen Shreve has been awesome for this team. He went 6 up, 6 down in long relief for the club, 2 strikeouts in the making there. Really gave some relief to the bullpen that had to put in some work yesterday. He has a 1.69 ERA in 5 1/3 innings. That's awesome. Mets offense, they were stymied for a little bit again. Kind of worrisome. Didn't have our A lineup out there, but still, you want to put up runs on Diamondbacks pitching. They break through in the 6th inning for 3 runs. It comes off a Diamondbacks error, but it kind of just opened the floodgates. J.D. Davis had a nice pinch hit RBI single, and then that stolen base, which I want you to talk about a little bit later, because I know that was a post-game topic on SNY. Pete Alonso hit a screaming line drive home run for a 2-run shot after Lindor got on. I want to talk Mets designated hitter a little bit later because I think the best DH on the Mets might not be Cano or JD or Dom. It might be Pete Alonso. And then Edwin Diaz came in, did his thing, locked down the save, and the Mets win the series, take the game 5-0, and they're now 7-3 in their first 10. Awesome. Really
big win. You said it, like everything. You should win this game, but you had all the excuses stacked up because it's Peterson's first start. You don't have your A lineup. You're giving your guys rest. It's the kind of the letdown day after some big emotional games. But they didn't allow it to happen, and that's the difference. The team stayed in. You got Chase and Shreve was great. David Peterson, I want to point out. So Peterson looked incredible in Philly. He had his changeup really working. He had that like split change thing, and he was throwing it to lefties and righties. And that really was his out pitch in Philly. Yesterday in his first real start against the Diamondbacks, he went to his slider. So that shows me that he has a feel for things. Whereas I talked about it a little bit in preparation from being a reliever, coming out and just doing it. You didn't have time to prep. And now he's had 5 days to think about it coming into a start. And they have this whole game plan. Sometimes it's hard for young guys to get away from the game plan when you need to, because while you're playing this game, sometimes it doesn't work out the way you plan, or most of the time it doesn't. And some guys have a hard time deviating away from the game plan when things just aren't the way. So what I saw from him going from his changeup that was his out pitch in the first appearance to that slider shows me that he has a feel for what's going on. I think there's a really good connection between him and McCann, which is positive. And I think it's a comfortability thing for him. So I would like to see, as much as I love Nito, and I think he's awesome, whatever it is with McCann and Peterson is a great connection.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off you here for a second, because you said in our PPP that Peterson needs to develop a third pitch, like a swing and miss pitch that can sort of take him to the next level. The slider that he really relied on yesterday got 5 whiffs out of 9 throws there. So, I mean, it was really working, especially against right-handed hitters, which has sort of been, a little bit of a tough spot for David Peterson. And I honestly think that, Buck was playing it safe for the guy that hasn't been stretched out fully. He didn't let him go the full 5. But Peterson, in a lot of tough spots and a lot of jams, looked really good yesterday.
He did a great job. And I like the fact that he got pulled kind of early. It's for a couple of reasons. It's to keep the Mets in the ballgame, but it's also another confidence builder for Peterson, because he was super effective in those outings. And if you take him out even before he gets that little bit of a blemish, or he starts to kind of decline a little bit, he doesn't get to that point to where he starts doubting his confidence. And this is a builder. That's what Buck Showalter has been doing very well. He's putting guys in situations for the whole season. Like, he's building a championship team, and Peterson's going to be a part of it. It's smart to kind of cut it short here to maybe get an extra out there. So I really like that.
And like we said at the top of the episode, Mets starting pitching is just been incredible. Like, there's no real other word for it. They went 15 1/3 innings this series, 1 earned run, 6 walks, 8 hits, 18 strikeouts. And I think that, we're going to talk a little bit about who the Mets are playing next, but you need that kind of performance going forward. It's been sensational.
You talked about it. You have it written down here. The Mets rotation of 1.07 ERA without DeGrom and with Max Scherzer giving up the most runs is Crazy. The lowest in franchise history through 10 games. It's even bigger than that. We talked about it on the post game. It is the best rotate twice through the rotation, the best 10 starts by a starter's ERA since the advent of ERA, since 1913. It is historically the best 2 trips through. It's wild.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's an anomaly, and because that is not going to hold up.
Jacob deGrom isn't there.
Yeah, it's right there. That's crazy how good they've been. Even with Taiwan going down. Taiwan looked unbelievable.
He looked really good.
That split change was amazing. But yeah, just an overall great performance. You wanted me to touch on the JD Davis play.
Yeah. Okay. Can I explain why though? We were in the Coca-Cola corner sitting, watching the game. And, we're having fun, drinking a little bit, eating some hot dogs. And we don't really see it when it happens. And then everyone's kind of confused cheering. And JD's on second base and he's pointing at people. And then everyone just kind of kept playing. So we had no idea what happened because we were sitting there live. So I want you to give me like your Jerry Blevins analysis of the play.
So the whole thing is that was a great hustle play. So that's another thing. I'll just lead into that. So the Diamondbacks had made a really heads up play. Because Francisco Lindor was on first, they had an infield pop-up, and they let it fall to get Francisco Lindor out so Pete Alonso would be at first, a much slower runner. But then Eddie Escobar does an amazing thing. He bloops a single. Pete Alonso goes first to third. Escobar gets a hustle double that makes a young team make a throw to second base that scores the first run, a wild throw. He ends up on third. But this sets up JD Davis, who had an awesome single. There's a runner on third, and Dom Smith. He has hey, buddy, you want to come here for a sec? Hi, sorry.
Who's appearing? Let me see.
Hey, dude. We're recording. Can you say hi? Hey, bud. I've been gone all weekend, and so my boys
Yeah,
missed
I
me.
don't blame him, man. We're
Yeah.
hogging him.
Hey, come here. Come here. Give me a hug. Can you say hi to Jack? Say hi,
Hey, bud.
Jack.
How's it
Say
going?
hi. Hey, I need you to
We
go
got our
upstairs. I'll
thumbnail.
be up in a minute, okay? Can you do that? Okay. Love you, bud. He said bye.
That just melted my heart. I don't even want to talk about the Mets anymore.
Yeah, my boys, I missed them. And they missed me, which is really cool. But yeah, no, it got me. I love them. It was cool to see them like run into to see Daddy this morning, kind of big hugs. But so Dom Smith is at third,
Right.
and there is a pop up to left field, like a fly ball, sac fly, and JD Davis is on first. Right? Or is it? Yeah. So JD Davis is on first, Dom. Shallow fly ball. Joey Cora, who's the third base coach, has been doing an amazing job playing aggressively.
Sends everybody.
Yeah. And it's good because he's, again, I'll talk about the feel of the team. He's putting pressure on the defense. The first couple of games they got thrown out at home, the teams made perfect throws and perfect relays. They're not going to happen all the time. And you saw it. Dom scored on a shallow fly ball that the guy stumbled kind of coming out and threw it away. But so there was a little bit of an issue with Dom leaving early. So the team was going to appeal the old, step on. Oliver Perez has got the ball on the mound. He has to step off, throw to third for the appeal. So the reason they have to step on is because it goes into play, then you step off and then turn and throw. So there's a sequence of things, because it's a dead ball and then he starts the clock. So you step off and you throw to first, and then the umpire is like safe, because most likely he was safe, or out if he left early. But this is what JD Davis did. As soon as Oliver Perez stepped off, JD Davis took off running towards second. Now that's wild. And the reason is JD Davis knew, because Buck Showalter and the Mets covered everything in spring training, that JD Davis knew that if Oliver Perez engaged with him running to second, now it's the next play has happened.
Yeah.
So now the next play, he's starting to try to get the guy out. So the appeal is you can't appeal anymore, because
it gets washed away.
It's a wash. Now the fact that they knew that, they were aware of it. Shout out to Tomas Nido, who was told him. He's like, hey, when he steps off, take off. And he's like, yeah, I remember. I didn't know that. In 17 years of spring trainings and 13 seasons in the big leagues, I still had no idea until Buck Showalter explained it in the postgame. Gary Cohen and all his knowledge, and Ron and the booth, I still didn't understand. And we were all talking about it in the studios. Until Buck really explained it, I wasn't sure the full sequence of events. So it didn't matter, because Dom Smith did not leave early. But if he had, since JD ran and Oliver Perez kind of took a couple of steps at him, he can't appeal anymore. So it would have been a run. So JD Davis gave himself up. He actually ended up getting stolen base, but he gave himself up to sacrifice for a run, which is an easy sacrifice. Brilliant play. The fact that they all covered it is wild, and that shows you the difference in a Buck Showalter team and everybody else.
I was going to say the same thing. I don't think you see a Mickey Callaway or Luis Rojas Mets team do that kind of thing. That's just knowledge of the game in and out, and knowing the rules and taking pride in knowing the rules. I think it's really cool.
You do a lot of silly things in spring training. We cover, we used to have 15 different bunt plays, and then they never run them in the entire season. They do play one every single time. But this thing, it's practical, and an appeal happens all the time. And just in case you have that knowledge, that's wild. It's a loophole. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not fair, because you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense, but it is a rule. And the fact that the Mets they covered it probably one time in spring training just in case, and they were aware. That's an amazing feat. It's an amazing accomplishment. I was very impressed with that whole thing.
And I was very impressed with the Mets lineup in this series as well. We got 3 guys that had some standout performances. The biggest one for me, especially because he got off to like a little bit of a slow start there, was Starling Marte. He had 2 mammoth home runs in this series, brought in 5 RBIs, a walk, a stolen base. He goes 4 for 12. Francisco Lindor is arguably one of the best offensive shortstops in the league through the first 10 games, which is a really good sign for Mets fans as well. He goes 3 for 9, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 4 walks, did not strike out in the series, also swiped a bag. And then Jeff McNeil in the leadoff spot. I kind of like it. I like it a little bit in place of Brandon Nimmo, obviously, who's usually up there. McNeil goes 4 for 10. He draws 3 walks, scores a couple runs, steals a base. Also doesn't strike out. Really good signs from this Mets offensive output here, especially considering they were missing 2 very hot bats in Brandon Nimmo and Mark Canha.
They've been super impressive, and it hasn't been because any particular player is just going bananas.
They're everyone.
Just playing. There's no guy hitting like 800, although Mark Canha was hitting, but it wasn't like
I think 700 or something.
It wasn't like, it wasn't like he was, he hit 9 homers in 8 games. You know what I mean? This offense they're just playing baseball.
They're sustainable.
I haven't seen anything that's been wild. You know what I mean? It hasn't been too crazy. Lindor hitting a home run from both sides of the plate is so cool and so impressive from a physical ability standpoint. He had some huge walks in the game that we lost 3-2. The biggest out was, so Lindor had walked with 1 out after. So I want to say Marte hit a huge 2-run home run with 2 outs, or with 1 out.
Okay.
Then Lindor walked, and then that brought Pete Alonso up with a chance to win it. Lindor, it was a huge walk. He gave the Mets an opportunity to win. Unfortunately, Alonso hit into a double play, but Lindor felt all the pressure last year to do everything himself. And now he knows that it doesn't matter who's getting the glory as long as you pass the baton. That was a big sign for me that he took the walk and he looked into the dugout as he was taking off the pads and the elbow guard. And he was just like, Jack, let's go. Here we go. Like a next man up kind of mentality. Awesome to see. They ended up losing, but they put themselves in a position to win. That was the first game that the bullpen didn't, blow it. But you're going to have these games. It's a long season. You're going to get beat. Stuff happens. It's different. Diaz looked incredible. His slider has been so sharp. The fact that he's getting swings and misses on a higher basis, his slider and his fastball don't have these amazing spin numbers. They are elite velocity, but when he dots that fastball down and away, glove side fastball, and then he throws that slider that has that true bite, he's going to get swings out of the zone. Whereas before, it would either be a good slider for a strike or a hanging slider. Those were like the only 2 options. And now he's getting that sharp slider for a strike and then another sharp slider for a swing and miss. It's wild. He could be even better than he was supposed to be. Like he's up there. We've been on him this whole time.
We've been on Edwin Diaz.
Yeah, and then he showed some signs of being able to make some in-game adjustments because he got off for a second and then he threw that fastball down and away to Maikel Franco and then it locked back in. Just really some really good signs of this team overall. They're where they are in the season.
Talk about your Moneyball Mets here. How about second in MLB on on-base percentage, 358, third in MLB in walk percentage, 11.3. These guys just get on base, and like you said, they're giving themselves opportunities to win and succeed every single inning. It's awesome.
Yeah. Marte had that stolen base that it led to a run. Like these are, the Pete Alonso has all these RBI, and he's hit 3 home runs, and he's not just mashing these home runs. What he's doing is hitting like shallow fly balls, and guys are getting in. Like this is what ideally you have, even when everything is not, one guy's not just going off, when everybody's just playing baseball, these are the things that happen. And it's awesome to see because, like I said, it's just a normal brand of baseball that's a winning recipe. Again, it's against the Nationals and the Diamondbacks that you should be, and a Phillies team that I still think we're better than, but they're better. But early signs are very positive.
You mentioned the Alonso sack flies, which I loved because the Mets are just putting him in spots where if he can put the ball in the air, which is what he always does, it'll result in an RBI. He already has 2 sack flies this season. He only has 10 in his career, so 20% of his career sack flies have come in just the first 10 games of this new season, which is awesome. It's great because Alonso is always either putting up a huge fly ball somewhere or maybe, working a good account there here and there, but still, opportunities to succeed. That's really important to this Mets lineup. And I really love that you touched on not just one guy doing all this. It's not just one guy carrying the offense with a hot bat right now. Everybody is contributing. Eduardo Escobar is drawing a shitload of walks. Francisco Lindor is always getting on base in front of Alonso. Jeff McNeil had 4 walks in this series out of the leadoff spot. Which
Jeff McNeil looks locked in too.
He looks locked in wherever they're putting him, whether it's second base or left, or if he's batting 8th or 6th or 1st. He's looked great, and it's really encouraging.
I've been hard on him from a maturity standpoint as well because he's had those outbursts.
Of course.
I've seen him get frustrated, which is fine, man. Everybody goes about their business a different way, but he looks evolved. He looks matured. Again, everything is a lot easier when you're winning. And trust me.
Of course.
We're not oblivious to the fact that it's everything, we got rose-colored glasses. But it looks positive. There's some really big bright spots. Like Marte is playing great, but he's not in the zone. He's just playing baseball. That's what I feel about everybody. Nobody has been like lights out. Canna was pretty much lights out. Like he didn't make a wrong decision, but it's just good. Everybody is just playing their version of how do I make the Mets win? Even I don't need to do everything. What can I do? It's wild. It's awesome.
And we preach depth on this team. Canna goes down. Next man up, Travis Jankowski, has a great series. Plays in every single game. Plays lights out defense. Steals a base. Has a multi-hit game. And the Mets just picked him out and found him out of nowhere. That's good management.
With the additional roster spots of that first month, I think Chasen Shreve and Travis Jankowski have almost made themselves invaluable members of this team.
I mean,
for me, 100%, Chasen Shreve is a member of the 26-man roster.
It almost, I know I harp on it a lot, it almost makes the Joely trade worse for me because of how good Chasen Shreve has been. And, it's no slack on Joely. That's a management decision. It's not his fault that they're putting him in certain situations. But Shreve and Smith go 5 innings combined, no runs, no hits, only 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. They have been incredible for this team.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I understand on the Joely trade. But where would Miguel Castro fit into this mix? Is he going to pitch when Ottavino's pitching? Because Ottavino has been really good.
I loved Miguel Castro. I really think he's going to blossom this year for the Yankees. I'm still going to root for him. I do think that, Ottavino looked really good in his outing, but he also loaded the bases. He had to strike out the side to get out of it. And Miguel Castro is that similar profile of pitcher where if he doesn't have it, he's going to walk batters. But it's just another weapon you could have in a Mets bullpen that has had some blemishes.
I just feel like right now, I feel like Buck is getting a feel for who he's got.
Right. It looked better this series for sure.
Yeah, I think Joely is going to get the third out of an inning and then let somebody else come in. And no offense to him, I think that's fair because Chasen Shreve he's dominated both lefties and righties. His split changeup is effective to everyone, and he's dotting up his fastball. He's not going to he's not going to put up a 0. The run that he did give up this year, he didn't even give it up.
Yeah.
But it looks repeatable. And it's not the first time we've seen him be successful in a Mets uniform. He was dominant in the shortened season.
And he's on a minor league deal, if you can believe it. He's had 3 straight minor league deals, and he's had 3 consecutive good years. So I kind of hope he gets paid this offseason because he looks like he deserves it, man.
I agree, man. It's just there's nothing special for a guy to look at and say, "Oh, look at these numbers." But he's a ball player, dude. He knows how to pitch. Sometimes you just have that. It's great.
So the main cause for concern, obviously, from the bullpen still remains Seth Lugo. We talked a little bit about it before, and I don't want to harp on him too much because I had tweeted about this. Yep. It's fair, but Lugo's worst month of his career by far has always been April, so I'm holding out hope that he's just getting the gears turning and getting acclimated again. And there are guys behind him, like Drew Smith. I would feel comfortable with him in the 8th inning of a close game. I'm going to say that outright. 5 1/3 shutty this season. He's looked like he's overpowered a lot of great hitters. Even when he didn't really have his stuff, and he actually posted on Instagram fully admitting that he didn't have his A game in yesterday's go, and he still had a 1-2-3 great outing against Arizona.
He had a leadoff walk, I think.
Or leadoff walk, sorry.
Yeah, in that last outing, which is not great. But he's got the stuff to get out of it. That cutter that's a nasty slider looks incredible. He's a 4-pitch pitcher now. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's nice.
Yeah, so Seth Lugo, it's fair. It's fair game to talk about the possibilities of him being this elite reliever that we talk about, but I think it's too early. But the positives are we don't need him to be his elite self right now because we've had other guys step up and be in that role. I think Seth Lugo is going to be fine. Everything looks sharp to me. You know, I talked about it on the broadcast, but that first pitch curveball that he threw before he gave up the home run, the guy that he gave up the home run to, he threw a first pitch curveball, which was perfect. Obvious strike, not even questionable, got called a ball. Changes the entire bat because then he misses a fastball away and then tries to throw a little give me over 2-seamer, and the guy just hits it for a home run. That's not always going to be a home run. That's a rare occurrence. And if that curveball gets called strike, we saw what happened because Oliver Perez punched out J.D. Davis on a 0-2 fastball up right before the next pitch. He gets that RBI pinch hit single that leads to the base running, brilliance, I guess. But you can see what the difference in one pitch makes. It's fair to talk about Seth Lugo, but I'm not putting a fork in him yet. I still think he's got some greatness in a Mets uniform to go.
Yeah, and it's the caveat of this entire episode. We're only 10 games in. Like, the season is very much young. There's a lot to happen and develop. But the Mets have the largest division lead of any division leader right now at 2.5 games. The Phillies dropped 3 of 4 to the Marlins, so they're at 4-6. The Marlins moved to 4-5. Nationals dropped 3 of 4 to the Pirates. They go to 4-7. And the Braves split a 4-game set with the Padres, and they moved to 5-6. So the Metsies are sitting a little comfortable right now. They have some tough matchups on the horizon, especially the one that's coming up right up next as the San Francisco Giants are coming to Citi Field for 4 games with their amazing starting rotation.
Yeah, we're going to see some really exciting pitching matchups this series.
Must watch TV.
The San Francisco Giants winning 107 games last year is like a wild scenario because on paper it doesn't look great, but it is not an accident. Having been in that clubhouse with the Giants in 2020 in spring training, it's not an accident. They are really smart, really good. Farhan, the leader, I was with in Oakland. Andrew Bailey, their pitching coach, I played with in Oakland. Gabe Kapler, beyond what he did in Philly as the manager, is freaking genius. I enjoyed every bit of my interactions with that whole organization. Like they're the Rays with the possibility of being a Dodgers payroll at some point. They're building something and it could be epic. And right now you look at it on paper and you're like, who are these guys? Are they has-beens? Are they washed up? No, man, they're going to get the best. This is not a freak accident. They're going to be mixed into the playoffs again. They're going to be pushing. They're good. They know what they're doing. And they have some amazing pitchers. So game 1, we get Tyler McGill versus Alex Cobb. And you're like, oh, Alex Cobb, this sinker baller. No, the dude's throwing 96 again. Like out
First
of nowhere.
time in his career. It's insane.
This is what they do. They find a guy that has really good stuff towards the end or latter stages of their career, and they say, hey, look, come here. We know how to make you elite again. We know how to take you and push you up to that next notch, because when you started in this league, it was different. Things have evolved. Now that stuff that you used to have, well, if you can turn it into this will be more effective in this era of the game. It is wild. It's happened with Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford, Evan Longoria. We see it with all their pitchers. It's amazing. So you'll see a different style Alex Cobb. Then in game 2, you get Logan Webb, who might quietly be the best pitcher on the planet, outside of DeGrom. Logan Webb is filthy.
He's real. He's definitely real.
And he was like factory created. He's a really good kid. I had a chance to talk to him. They revamped his entire delivery to find what works best for him. He's like a lab created. He throws this nasty sinker, like it's a sinker. No, that doesn't happen anymore. But it's going to be Logan Webb versus Scherzer. Then the big lefty, Carlos Rodon going against Chris Bassett.
He looked
then you have
really
Anthony
good.
DeSclafani against Cookie Carrasco. These are 4 primetime matchups. It's going to be a very good pitching, hopefully very good pitching duels coming up on all 4 games.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if any of these games had more than like 5 runs scored in any of them. And this is the number 1 rotation in the Mets taking on the number 3 rotation in the Giants. That's per ERA. And there are some stats to be had here. I mean, we know that McGill hasn't allowed a run or a walk in either of his starts this season, but that came against the Nats and Phillies. Phillies is a good lineup, but this Giants team, like you said, they're different. They are created in a lab. They are fine-tuned, and they know what they're doing.
Great scouting. They're going to have a game plan coming in, and they're going to be able to make adjustments on the fly. This is a team built to figure stuff out. But we'll see, man. This is going to be a fun battle.
This game 1 probably will get rained out tonight. If you have taken a look at the forecast in New York, it does not look good. So I'd expect a doubleheader for tomorrow, which would be Tuesday.
I saw 1 to 2 inches of rain possible. That is a lot of rain. I want to say I have snow scheduled for here in Ohio. I flew out last night, and I want to say that I read this morning, although everything's kind of a blur, I want to say that I had snow. Yes, snow.
I'm glad you're not flying in that. That's good.
You see?
Show the people.
You can't see that.
I can see like a very blurry image.
It's like 38 degrees outside, and it's gonna snow. It's raining now. It's gonna turn to snow. Won't stick on the ground, but come on, man. Come on.
I don't know what's going on. It's April baseball. That's always happens.
The Midwest, you gotta love it.
Robinson Cano has some really good numbers against old Alex Cobb. We'll see how it goes against new Alex Cobb. 28 at-bats, 357 batting average, 4 home runs for Cano against Cobb. Eddie also has a home run off Cobb there. Brandon Belt messed up Tyler McGill in his starts against San Francisco last year. Hit a home run off him both times. The Mets have not had a lot of success against Logan Webb. They've only faced him a couple times. Alonso hit a home run off him. And here's a fun stat that Mets fans may not like because we do love Wilmer Flores. Wilmer Flores is 0-for-17 against Max Scherzer. He used to face him a lot on the Mets when we'd played the Nationals, but that's a crazy stat. I could not believe that when I saw it. 0-for-17.
He might get that day off.
I think he might not play that. That's rough.
He shot me a text last night on my flight home, and he was just like, "I wish you were pitching because he crushed me in my career." I was like, "Oh, you're a couple of years late, my friend."
Yeah, that ship has sailed. Carlos Rodon leads MLB with 21 Ks so far in his first 2 starts. He diced up the Cleveland Guardians, who were the best offense in baseball when he faced them. So that should be really fun for the Mets. Lindor has some great numbers off Rodon, hitting righty, 32 at-bats, 313 batting average, a couple bombs there as well. And then most Giants hitters have not faced Chris Bassett. Bassett didn't have his great stuff last time, still looked really good against the Diamondbacks. Cookie Carrasco, though, has looked awesome in both of his starts. He looks like a new man, and it's getting me real excited.
He looks like his former self, man, and he looks locked in.
Yeah, man. Brings a tear to my eye.
Like Buck talked about it in the post game. He didn't. It's not like it's a surprise, but it is a time to take a deep breath and be like, "Thank goodness." Yeah, it's great for Cookie, and it's really nice for the team. It takes so much pressure off, and David Peterson, looking as good as he has and having the success that he has, allows the Mets to let Taijuan Walker have a couple of starts on his rehab build. It doesn't put pressure on the organization or the player to rush back, which is so nice. It's such a change because everything last year was pressure for the big guys. The only person that really held up to that pressure, two people. From an offensive standpoint, Pete Alonso dominated. And from a pitching standpoint, it was Marcus Stroman were the only 2 people that handled the pressure to be elite the entire season. And it's not sustainable. I don't know how both of those guys did it. But it's nice this year that pressure doesn't exist because everybody has been contributing. Everyone.
They talked about it on Talking Yanks, and they basically what I had retained from that mostly was that you cannot put the pressure on pitchers to be perfect every single time out. And the Mets pitchers, they have been fantastic, but I do believe this series will be a reality check. The offense is going to have a tough go against 4 really good starters, but I think if you get a series split here against a very good Giants team, I think you take that and you keep going because you have some tough matchups coming up. You got the Cardinals, you got the Phillies again. You have a Diamondback series in there to have some breathing room, but the Mets schedule is going to ramp up a little bit in these next couple weeks.
I'm excited for this series because it's a first real test. These guys are good. They're going to be on it. They're going to be locked into the game. You're going to see some back and forth between Gabe and Buck. They're going to try to outsmart each other because
that's a fun manager matchup. By
the
way,
it really is. It's going to be, it's not old school versus new school, but it is a little bit.
Like a little bit, because Buck's hotness. With the times, but like Gabe Kapler is new school embodied in a minute.
Yes, they are 100% all bought in on everything new, and the whole organization, top to bottom, has bought in. And then you have a guy like Buck Showalter, where the whole organization is traditional, but not letting traditional get in the way of enhancing the team. And so it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good series. There's going to be some battles. There's going to be, I imagine every single game is going to be close, except if a starter gets blown up, which I don't see happening.
I don't see it happening.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a fun series.
All right. I mean, I'm nervous, but I'm also really excited. I'm excited.
Amped. I want to see some, I don't want to see the Mets face adversity. But I think it's at some point there's going to be like a real test. They've balled out and passed every single little bit test that they've had from every bit of this season, and sometime they're gonna have a hiccup here or there. I just want to see if they can bounce back. Maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe they never face adversity on that level.
If they're going to play in October, you got to beat teams like the Giants. You got to beat teams like the Dodgers. You got to beat teams like the Cardinals. And this is the first go-around, which can mean good things or bad things for the Mets because they're going to get smacked over the head or they're going to prove that they belong. So we're going to learn a lot from this series. I think that's the general notion.
It's still only April. It's still like an early, litmus test for where they're standing. Again, this Giants team is not projected to be the Dodgers, even the Padres.
But I still fear them like they are.
As you should, because you understand, but they're going to play a really good brand of baseball. And so we'll see, man. This is going to be a fun one.
You got anything else, Jerry?
I don't.
All right, man. I mean, guys, thank you for listening to the latest episode of Shea Station. We'll be back on Friday because this is a 4-game set. So we'll be back on Friday, I believe. That's tentative.
I don't know. You tell me what to do, Jolly.
I'm Jerry's
everything's a
secretary. I organize his Google Calendar and everything,
Cool.
That's my role.
He just tells me where to be, as a typical, I'm talent. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.
Keep an eye on Shea Station socials. Merch is coming.